Keshav Maharaj. So he came to the lockup. And the thing is, they had a rule that they would only take food cooked by initiated devotees. Initiated means what we in a school call second initiation, mantra initiation, Gayatri initiation. Now, Vaman Maharaj had received first initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but he hadn't received Diksha, or what we call Brahminical initiation. So he came, and the devotees in the lockup were thinking, hey, we're going to just have to fast. We can't eat. How can we know? How can we get food? So from Baba Maharaj's point, he brought cooked food. He cooked. He offered Krishna and brought it to him. So that's basically the story. No. Anyway, somehow Guruship was. Anyway, Sridhar Maharaj described him. He was also very reluctant to initiate this woman. Can you imagine? We can't imagine. After Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, that's the son of a guru. Who's going to be a guru? Well, we have the same, or had the same dilemma after the departure of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If I had said that someone too eager to take on the role of guru. But up to the present time, even though Srila Prabhupada, he wanted his disciples to be gurus, initiated, but many are reluctant to do so, thinking, who am I? So this was also felt by Sridhar Maharaj, and he described how, nevertheless, he came to initiate. What had happened, a devotee asked him that, well, he put the proposition to him, that some people think that one must be a devotee of the highest order who has descended in this world to act on the second-class platform in order to initiate disciples. They do not accept any gradation of gurus. Only someone who's on the highest level, which is stated in Shastra in some places, in the Acharya. But of course other things are stated also. So the Lord continued, according to them, one must seek out and take initiation. One must seek out and take initiation only from the highest guru. And Sridhar Maharaj said, I'm going to paraphrase it, that I also looked like that at first. Because you can imagine, after Bhakti Saraswati Thakur passed away, and then there was one guru appointed for all the mission, but that unfortunately turned into a disaster. And you can imagine, people must have approached Sridhar, very respected. But he thought, only someone who was on the top of us. Of course, later it became apparent that Sridhar Maharaj himself top of us. But he's explained. I thought like that, but my understanding underwent some transformation. He said that my conception changed. And he described how his transformation and his conception changed through 3 events. And he described that he thought of the story of Krishna's headache. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all bliss. He doesn't have headache. And he has it. In Dwarka he had a headache. How can the Supreme Lord of Bliss have a headache? That's a question for another day. Okay, so the Supreme Lord has a headache. Now it comes to see. And naturally when you meet someone you say, how are you? Although that question was rejected. Who are you? custom, that question was rejected by Hansatavata. But Krishna said to Narad, I've got such a headache. So, let me bring some medicine. Now, the only medicine is the dust of the feet of my devotees. And now he said, okay, I'll get some. I'm sure some of the other brothers will give it to you. He didn't think of himself as being fit to give his foot dust. But he went around everywhere in Dwarka and take the dust from my feet and Krishna's head. What are you talking about? That's not possible. It's just not possible. It's total transgression of etiquette. We'll go to hell. It's a very bad example for everyone. And now it came back to Krishna. I went for a little while, I couldn't find anyone. What to do? Krishna said, oh, my headache, it's so bad. Just go up to Vrindavan and try there. So Narad went, and he went to Vrindavan, he went right to the top, he went right to the gopis, and they said, oh Narad, you are always so close to Krishna. Have you seen Krishna? Yeah, I just came from Krishna. Oh, how is our Krishna? He has a terrible headache. What? And why did you come here? Why didn't you do something to cure him? Oh. Krishna can only be cured by the foot dust from his devotee. Your devotees, right? Can you give some foot dust to cure? Krishna said that he has to smear it on his head. That's the only cure. Immediately they were ready. Yes, take it. And now he was astonished. Put foot dust. Don't you know what will be the result? Yes, of course. We'll go to heaven and we'll jump. But that Krishna. So Srila Maharaj cited this, and as one thought that Krishna has a headache. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna's name was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he also had a headache, as he expressed to Thakur Haridas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I'm in great anxiety. You see these Jovans, they kill cows, they're enemies of Vedic culture, they kill brahmanas. How can they be delivered? They're so simple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to deliver anyone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Haridas that this is my great anxiety. And Haridas, he replied, I'll read from Srila Prabhupada's translation, from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Haridas Thakur replied, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety, do not be unhappy to see the condition of the Javanas, the Yavanas in material existence. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to this verse, these words, this is Antya-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 3, text 52. He says, these words of Haridas Thakur are just befitting a devotee who has dedicated his life and soul to the service of the Lord. When the Lord is unhappy because of the condition of the fallen souls, the devotee consoles him, saying, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. This is service. Everyone should adopt the cause of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try to relieve him from the anxiety he feels. This is actually service to the Lord. One who tries to relieve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety for the fallen souls is certainly a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. So Srila Maharaj didn't specifically cite this, but then throwing it into the mix, so to speak. So Srila Maharaj described that this was one point came in his mind, that we should be ready to take the risk to relieve Krishna's headache. Another was the thought. He remembered or considered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, Amar Agge Guru Hoyat Naro Hidesh. On my order become Guru and deliver the land. Which of course we heard so many times from our own Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Maharaj said we should think, I am fallible, but I am confident that what my Guru has given me is uncommon, vital, full of nectar. And he has asked me to give it to others. So he has ordered me, I should take the risk. I am his servant, and he will look after me. With this, taking this risk, the disciple takes the responsibility. Knowing it's a risk, thinking, I may go to hell, but I have to carry out the order of my Guruji. I may die, but I must carry out the order of my commander. With this spirit, he has to take up this service. But he also has to see that his consciousness is maintained. But this is Saraswati Thakur, in this assuming the responsibility of being Guru, this talk that I spoke on, he also, of course, quoted this, Amar Agyan Guru Hoya Dara and Bij. By preaching, you deliver this land, be a Guru. He also said, if you do it guilelessly, that means without personal motivation. If we can do it without personal motivation, then we'll be protected. But if we take the role of a Guru for some self-serving purpose, mundane purpose, then we'll be doomed. Otherwise, we'll be doomed. Otherwise, as Bhakti Saraswati Thakur quoted from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving this order, saying that Kabuna Badi Leitamai E Vishai Taranga Punarapi Etai Pavanash. If you take this order, you will not be overcome by the three modes or the waves of material nature. And again, you will meet me at this very place. So this spirit should be maintained, of being a helpless disciple. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also demonstrated this. Amito Vaishnav, E Buddhi Hoile, Pamani Nahavani, Pratishtasha Asya, Hridoy Dushibe, Oibo Nirayam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if I think of myself as a Vaishnava, then I'll become puffed up and become a candidate for going to hell. And therefore he concludes this song by saying, Tai Shishya Kava Takiya Sarvada Naloivo Pujaka. Therefore I will always remain your disciple, speaking to his Guru, and never accept any worship from others. But of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur did give initiation. So what does that mean? Is he a hypocrite? No. Guru is a guru because he's a disciple. My link, and I'm saying my, but I'm speaking, I presume, generically for all my brothers who have accepted this service, and it's an ongoing, eternal principle of Guru Parampara. The disciple always feels my link with my Guru, that is my identity. not that my identity is as a guru. Others may see me as that, but my identity is as the servant of my guru. And on the strength of his order, I can initiate others, not individually on my own strength. I must take the risk. There's such a good thing my guru has given me, and he wants me to distribute it. Let me distribute it in order to save them. So we read that from Srila Prabhupada's Prabhupada Chaitanya Charitamrita, the one who does this becomes the most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. Or rather says that one who does this, one who preaches like this, is certainly a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. But I'm not a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to save the Javans, the sinful people. Well, I come from that kind of background. So, why should I take such a role if I'm unfit? It's a valid question. In this regard, you can quote from Srila Prabhupada, who said about his awarding sannyas to young Western, the body, where's the body? Not the soul. But with the body goes, with the material body, with the physical body goes a whole package of subtle body full of so many bad things. The material body is full of bad things, the physical body, earth, water, fire, air, but the subtle body is full of even worse things. And that's why we get material body, one thing after another, one after another. So Srila Prabhupada said, actually most of you who are giving sannyas, they're not fit for it. But it's like a battlefield for mission. That means on the battlefield, the fighting is going on. Officers get killed, as well as regular troops. So there are no trained. There's a shortage of trained officers. So on the spot, one of the higher officers appoints one of the ordinary soldiers, one who he thinks can somehow or other do it. We need officers. So he appoints them on the spot, battlefield commission. Okay, now you're a sergeant, that's the first step. Because you need officers the general overseeing the whole battle. Maybe he can give overall strategy, but the local, the battle is spread out over a wide area, and the little units have to have their leader to take decisions on the spot. So it's a battlefield commission. And from that, we can consider that maybe Srila Prabhupada knew some about the fall, but still, the battle has to go on. Someone has to do it. I may not be qualified. I am not. But someone has to do it. You may say, well, there's so many Brahmins, so many in India. And Srila Prabhupada actually said many times that Indians should take up this Krishna consciousness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself should preach it. But in the absence of them doing so, Srila Prabhupada gave battlefield commission to others. So, someone has to do it. And by doing so, Srila Prabhupada writes, one can become a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord by preaching his message, or at least by relaying the message without changing it. Then someone more qualified than myself, or many more qualified than myself, can take it up, and they can carry me back to Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada in utter humility writes in one of his purports that Dhruv Maharaj carried his mother, Suniti, although she was not actually qualified, but by the strength of his own devotion, he was favored by Krishna. He was able to carry his mother back to the spiritual world. And Srila Prabhupada in utter humility writes that I am not qualified, but I'm hopeful that some of my disciples, they may become so qualified, they'll carry me back to the spiritual world. And as if we can carry Srila Prabhupada. He's carrying the whole world, but in his humility, he thinks like that. There's another point, Srila Maharaj said, of this spirit of risk. In the case of Ramanujacharya, very well known, Sri Ramanujacharya, he was sent by one of his gurus. He had several gurus, but generally the mantra guru, one who gives one the mantra that one has to chant, the secret mantra. He's, well, it may be different. He has a very important role. So one of his shiksha gurus, that was Mahapurana. Yeah, Mahapurana. He told Ramanuja, you go and take this mantra from Goshtipur. Now, Ramanuja was based in Sri Rangam, and Goshtipur was in Tirukoshia. It's a distance of about 120 kilometers. So Ramanuja went by walking. He was refused. He asked for the mantra, was refused. He came back. After some time, he went again and was refused. So it's a round trip of about 240 kilometers walking each time. And this happened 17 times. Was refused. And where could you get a more qualified disciple than Ramanuja? But he refused, and ultimately Ramanuja, he was distraught. We have the similar thing in Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur's accepting initiation from Srila Bhakti Babaji Maharaj. So on the 18th time, Goshtipurna agreed to give him the 8-syllable mantra and explained its inner meaning, but told him, this is a secret mantra. You can see I'm reluctant to give it. Should not be given willy-nilly to all and some. Only to very qualified people you must give it secretly. This mantra, he explained, will deliver you to the spiritual world. But if you give it out just to anyone and everyone, you'll go to hell. So be warned. So Ramanuja set up. He started back. But as he went, he thought, this mantra can deliver people from the suffering of this material world back to the lotus feet of Lord Narayana. So on the way, he hadn't gone very far, he went to the Vishnu Temple at Goshtipur. And so the story goes, he went into a high place, although some dispute that. Anyway, that's a detail. And he called all the people. He said, come. Called all the people, come. I have something very valuable which I'm going to give you all. He called all the people. And then he told them all, just chant this mantra. Om Namo Narayana. And they all chanted. That was the mantra. News went back to Goshtipurna. He sent a message for Ramanuja. Goshtipurna was very angry. He said, 17 times I refused you. 18 times, and the 18th time I gave it to you on the strict condition not to tell it to others. And you just go and distribute it everywhere. I told you to go to hell, well, let's go there. And Rama just said, yeah. But everyone else will go to Vaikuntha. Then Roshi embraced me. And yes, this is correct. The mantra you have given must work. It must have its effect. They will be saved. Let me go to them. So we say, well, that's a very high devotee who takes that risk. But Srila Maharaj explained that, well, to take that kind of risk is battlefield commission. For Ramanuja, he's who he is, an Abhishek at the top. We are not, I am not. But we have the battlefield commission. When you take the role of a sergeant, you have to do the duty of a sergeant. You have to take or an officer, maybe a higher officer. You have to take the duty, you have to do the job, you have to take the risks. In Vedic culture, the leader of a platoon or a leader of a whole Akshodhani, a huge army, a battalion, he has to be at the front, so you have to take the risk. And you also have to be respected. All those things, it all comes with the role. So, if one can take this risk, it is a risk, no doubt, because it's meant for highly trained, highly elevated devotees. It's like the officer is supposed to be highly trained, very expert in what he's doing. But if one takes the order to do the job, then sometimes it may be found that even unexpected people, they may seem that they're not qualified, but they turn out to be the best at the job. One has to be physically fit to enter the army. You can't enroll in the army or the navy or the armed forces if you, for instance, only have one eye is spoiled. But we find some of the greatest military heroes. Nelson, very famous in Britain. He was actually blown out in a battle. He lost one eye. And then there was an Israeli whose name I don't remember. He was a great military leader. And only one eye. But they weren't expected. They can't be great military leaders, but they were. So you never know. Someone unexpectedly may come up. Our own Srila Prabhupada unexpectedly came up. It wasn't thought that he could spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. It wasn't thought that anyone would have to Bhakti Saraswati left. It had been tried and not worked, and even Maharaj went again he went to America in the, late 1940s, was it? And he also, he couldn't make any headway. He was doing this, so it was not thought possible, and who would think that this Pacha Grihasta, Ratan Grihasta, Abhai Charan Aravinda, how, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be one of the big sannyasis. It was impossible, but he did it. We know now he is the great Acharya, Senapati of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, great generals, but it might have seemed like a battlefield commission. He wasn't intimately trained by his guru personally. Risk, yes, but we have good protectors also. We have to take their shelter. If we're on the battlefield and then we think that now I'm an officer, so I don't have to obey the higher officer, or I can just make my own strategy, and then we do. I mean, we may be executed by the higher officer who put us in the position. These are just some analogies which we can consider. So we have to follow strictly, but have confidence also that if we're selfless, if we think, I may go to hell, but I have to carry out the Guru's order, the work should go on. Are our gurus, are they dead? If they're dead, then what are we preaching? We're preaching his soul is eternal. The link between the guru and the disciple is eternal. So the potency is there. We follow the order. I must follow my guru's order. This, again, in taking responsibility, taking the responsibility, assuming the responsibility of being a guru for distance as we can, has expressed. Then Srila Maharaj quotes Jiva Swami, Jnana Shakta Vitta Shakta. That if you have money and someone is suffering no money and you hold on to the money and he just dies, then you're responsible for his suffering. So in the same way, if I have knowledge which I can give to help others and I don't, then I'm responsible. That is a crime of omission. There are crimes of commission and crimes of omission. Crime of commission, for instance, if you murder someone, you do something. But you can be charged for criminal negligence. If you fail to do something that you shouldn't have done. Just like, for instance, some years ago, news came out that a hovercraft full of cars and passengers set off from a port in France, I believe it was, or Belgium, headed across the English Channel for England, and after a short time, it just went out to sea for a short time, and then it sunk. And so many people died, and this and that, and this and that, it was just some small thing. And an investigation was made, and it was found that the captain of the hovercraft had forgot to close the rear chute via which the cars entered. So naturally, it got filled up with water and the whole thing sunk. So that's a crime of omission. He didn't do anything wrong, in one sense, but he failed to do his duty. So this is applicable in this case also. You have the knowledge, you fail to give it, you are failing in your duty. And Srila Maharaj says, he asked one doctor, do you know everything about disease? And when you treat others, are you sure it's going to work? You have to treat so many people, and so many times you're just trying to see if it works. Even a doctor will admit that although their knowledge of the human body is so much more than the non-doctors or the average person, it's still very meager. It's so many things we don't know about the body. So the doctor agreed, that's true. But then Srila Maharaj himself thought that if we require every doctor to perfectly know everything about the body and about disease, then the whole method of treatment will stop. There will be no doctors and no treatment. They know something, they can help others, they do help others. In some cases, maybe many cases, their treatment isn't successful. But if we say that the doctors should have full knowledge, then no one will get any treatment, and there's no hope of being cured except by divine intervention. But one form of divine intervention is that you go to a doctor, because Krishna has given the medical system, and he gives the intelligence to doctors to be doctors. And they may mess it up sometimes, even many times, but still we have to have faith that we may not have faith. We may have faith. I don't trust any doctor. But yeah, if you're in a car accident and you're bleeding to death, and you may say, I don't trust any doctors, then you're likely to bleed to death. But if you do trust doctors, they'll take you into the emergency ward, and there's more hope of staying alive. It's a standard thing they do in the emergency ward, is to take in people who have been seriously wounded in motor vehicle and other kinds of accidents. That's mostly what the emergency department is all about in big cities in the world. So if you say that, no, you're going to treat me, but you don't have full knowledge, then I won't take treatment. Who's got full knowledge? By treating patients, he also gets more knowledge. But if you say you shouldn't treat any patients until he becomes experienced, well, that's ridiculous. So you might be treated by a junior doctor. There's no one else, then take the treatment from the junior doctor. So in the same way, you can see the analogy. That we may not be fully qualified, but we have some, not we may not be fully qualified, we're not fully qualified, but we have some knowledge. We know it helps because it helps in our life. We wouldn't be doing it, we wouldn't be practicing Krishna consciousness if it wasn't helping us. And we know that it can help us, so we should try to help others. If you take up the work of an acharya, someone will blame you, you're not fit. But if you don't take it up, you're also blameworthy because you are fit, to some extent. And someone should do it. And that is the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we receive in disciplic succession. Of course, if there's a junior doctor, and there's a senior doctor also present, then we may, or he should defer to the senior doctor. That is the etiquette, and that just makes sense. But it may be the senior doctor is so busy that he gives you, you treat others also. If you have any particular questions, come to me. And so again, we get the idea of battlefield permission. Then the question comes, the devotee always thinks of himself as the lowest. So he'll want to take someone to someone who's better than me. And that is the thought of a devotee. I am the lowest of the low, but still the honor is that I am the lowest of the low, but I've come in contact by the mercy of my Guru with the highest of the high. And he has mercifully given it to me, who am the lowest of the low, and told me to share that with others. So can I not share it with others who are not the lowest of the low, but who need this knowledge? If you don't do so, if you don't take this knowledge, then why do you think I gave it to you? Do you think I gave it to you just to pack up and keep as your own property? This is the property of Krishna, this knowledge of Krishna and how to practice. And Krishna comes to this world to share it with others. He doesn't keep it packed up and let everyone go to hell. And he gives the order. Amar Agyai Guru Hayatara Edi. So what are we doing if we just take it and we don't share it? We have to be careful. We're handling something which is bigger than we can understand. Very potent medicine. If very careful in applying it, prescribing it. But at the same time, we have to give it. We have to discharge this duty. We should see our own path. We're trying to help others, or don't become a guru for the sake of being served by others. If you take the role of a guru, they should serve you. But that's the rule. But if one thinks, now I'll lead a very comfortable life, then not. I will lead a comfortable life on the kindness of my disciples. So one shouldn't think that I'm very qualified, I should be a guru. One should always think, as Bhakti Thakur also prays to his Guru, Yogata vichare kichuna tomara karanasha. That if you examine me for good qualities, you'll come back. Doctor sees the patient. Positive, 0. You examine me for good qualities, you'll come back. This good quality, kindness, knowledge, austerity, sense control, you put 0 in each case. Kitchen, you won't give anything. But tomara karanasha. The emptiness of my life has been filled by the mercy of my Gurudev. And as we learn from the biblical analogy, from the Psalms, I believe, my pot is overflowing. I've got giving me so much that it's overflowing. Then, you not distribute to others. We've been given so much, more than I can have. Well, then distribute, give to others. Let others do it. There's also this, not in the case of, this is another narration of it. It's not from Srila Maharaj's thoughts that he shared at that time. One of the famous ancient rishis of India. Famous means nowadays, who knows? Because who's famous in India today? Cricket stars, film stars, politicians. But anyway, for those who are actually following seriously the Vedic culture, they know the name of Apastambha. Apa means water. Bhumir Apanala in Bhagavad Gita. Stambha means stop, fixed. So he got this name. How was it? He was walking in the forest. Brahmanas previously, they were in the forest. And he came across another brahmana in the forest who was clearly making arrangements for Shraddha, a ceremony in which you call brahmanas, and one of the things you do is you call essential in the Shraddha ceremony, which is the ceremony for the benefit of your departed father and other ancestors. So an essential part of that Shraddha ceremony is to call brahmanas and feed them. And by the punya, they have acquired, the pious activities they have acquired. By eating that food, that piety, or a measure of it, will be transferred to the forefathers. So the sage who at that time was not known as Apastambha came and he saw this brahmana looking very distraught. And Apastambha asked him, why are you going to perform some shraddha? Looks like that, but you look very upset. And why is that? He said, I can't find any brahmanas to come and take my food. And how will my forefathers be delivered? And Apostama said, in the forest there are so many brahmanas living in the forest. So many brahmanas. You know, I know, everyone knows. He said, but the brahmana said in reply, but you know, the times are very bad. You can't find brahmanas like they used to be. And feeling very distressed, that the water which was kept for in a jug with a spout, the water that was kept for offering, he started to pour that out as a sign that I've abandoned the whole endeavor of doing a show. So Apostama said, stop, and the water stopped. Therefore he's known as Apastamba. The water stopped falling. He told the Brahman, no one's up to the standard that used to be there before. But are there any brahmanas in this area who follow the Brahminical duties according to Shastra and according to tradition, who know the mantras, who chant them? They may not be on the level of the previous brahmanas, but do they follow all the basics sincerely? Do they fulfill the role of a brahman? He said, yeah, there are plenty like them. Oh, you have to do it. You don't stop doing the short ceremony because there aren't great brahmanas of the level that they used to be. Call anyone who is following strictly their brahminical duties, and that will fulfill the purpose. So that's why it's known as Apostama. So in the same way, who can be like Srila Prabhupada? It's a ridiculous proposition. Who can be like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada? It's a ridiculous proposition. But who can follow as they have taught and teach as they have taught? There may be many who can do it. So we shouldn't stop the process of initiation and the whole culture of there being gurus, because we don't find anyone on the level of Prabhupada. Now, problems have been there in ISKCON, as we well know, in the matter of guruship. And this series of talks on guru issues, I'm on, I think it's the 12th talk or something, and I still didn't really get down to the nitty-gritty, juicy, nasty stuff about so many nasty things that have gone on and may even still be going on. And quite probably will go on in the future also, because we live in a bad age. But that doesn't mean that the whole process of initiation should be stopped or some imagination made of Srila Prabhupada's the last guru, which he didn't teach. Because he's a guru, and he teaches what the Shastra says, and he follows the tradition. He doesn't. Anyway, I plan to speak on that, maybe in the next talk, in this Guru issue series on Ritvikism, and then the great magical illusion of Ritvikism, and then maybe I'll get into some of the nasty stuff. Not for the sake of speaking about all that, not for the sake that we want to highlight it, but some things need to be discussed. Anyway, no doubt after the departure of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur from this world, many of his disciples, they were reluctant to accept disciples themselves, but eventually they did. And some, if not many, became highly respected, even though within the Gauriya Bhakti, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's position is always special, it's always unique. So in the same way, many have fallen and many have stayed on the path, and although we look at them now under a microscope and see, oh look, we're doing that one, we're doing that one. But as maybe we look in future, we look past with a more, we look to the past with a more charitable eye, and we say, oh, even though ISKCON was going through so much difficulty, they, among others, helped to carry the flag of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They helped to keep that going, and they want to see that they produce themselves very good disciples, very good followers of Srila Prabhupada. And their position may be glorified. Of course, it's not our aim to become glorified. Rather, we should think like Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Lokanath Goswami. They didn't want their names, and they didn't want their activities, their names mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. They forbade that. Of course, they weren't there to forbid Narahari Chakravarti later expounding their glories in his Bhakti Ratnaka. But the point there is that if we sincerely try, others may be better. That should be our thought. How can I be able to? I knocked it. It's nothing to hide. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, he can, if he can't make Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Srila Prabhupada, can't make the lowest into devotees, if he can't help it, and then what is Krishna consciousness anyway? It can be done. So, with this understanding, I'm giving what I've got. I'm trying to give what I've got. As are so many of my brothers, giving what they've got. And others, you come up. You come up. You show what is actual pure devotion. Weak, yes, and weak. We're all weak before Maya. So you become strong by the blessings of the Acharyas and glorify the Sampradaya by your activity. As Srila Prabhupada said, practically from the beginning of his ministration in the West, that you have to be the next Guru. So that we're very much realizing at the present time, as Srila Prabhupada's disciples, I don't think any of them are under 60 years old, and which means they're not going to be with us very long. So the next generation have to take the baton and continue with the relay race. But this relay race isn't round and round and round. That's material existence is round and round and round. But this relay race just keeps on going up and up and up to the spiritual. And passing the baton down. And when we pass it down, that links the person who took the baton with all the previous acharyas all the way up to Krishna. So, what is my position? Dino, Hino, very fallen, but as we hear from Narottam Das, Dino, Hino, Jota, Chilo, Hariname, Udhari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has delivered all the very fallen by giving the gift of Harinam. We shouldn't remain fallen. If Krishna conscious works, that's a rhetorical statement. We shouldn't remain fallen. We should come up. It's an emergency situation. Srila Prabhupada wrote, it's an emergency situation. Spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world. Therefore, those who are considered fallen, they are now being given the role of brahmanas to carry on the preaching. So, Guru, I've taken the role of Guru. Yes, I'm Guru. I can say, I am a Guru. I am a disciple. to my disciples, yes, I am a guru. By the mercy of my Guru. I'm a servant first, but by the mercy of my Guru, I am obliged to be a Guru. I have knowledge by which you can benefit. I can help others from what I received, and I'm duty bound to do so, and not to hide it, just like the doctor. The doctor, if there's an accident and someone is a doctor, he may not even have fully qualified. He may be still studying at medical school. But in the absence of anyone else, there may be no one else around who knows even basic first aid. So he can rush in and say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I'm a doctor. He may say I'm a doctor. Actually, he's just in medical school. But for the purpose of the emergency situation, he is a doctor. So, if I just keep on saying, I tell him, rise early in the morning, Mangalati 4:30, and have Mangalati at 7 o'clock, or just whenever you feel like it, have a fixed morning program. If I just insist on this, even if I do only that, that will be a great help for so many. Of course, it may be that you're working till 10 o'clock at night, and then maybe you have Mangalati at 5:30. That's not ideal, but the point, ideal is 4:30. But if I say, get your sadhana together, rather than you just get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and then start chanting about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and get your sadhana together. Have Mangalati every day, same time, early. The earlier as possible, 4:30 ideal. Because there's no real reason why in different ashrams it shouldn't be 4:30. It may be put a little later for the benefit of congregational members living around. But anyway, I'm just getting the point. That if I can just tell people, yeah, you do this. It may be that I'm not doing heart transplant. But okay, I'm not talking about Raga, Vikas, Bhakti, and sometimes I may, just like a parrot. But basic things. If I can say that, that in itself will be a great benefit. Just like a medical student, he does the first aid. Okay, bang, he knows how to take there's an accident, and then he asks the woman, give you a sari, I need to break it up. Normally if he asks the woman to give the sari, she says, what is this? This is an outrage. But in the circumstance, she may give, I needed to tear it and make some on-the-spot bandages. So all kinds of things you may do in an emergency, which otherwise might be considered outrageous. But those who are level can understand that it's all for the benefit of others. Now the question may come, the rhythmic parties may say, well, we don't have to initiate to preach. That's true. You can be a shiksha guru. Or you can preach and give books out, you don't have to initiate. But just see, I'll speak some more about this in the upcoming talks also. Well, I already read from the, what is that, the name of that book? I just don't remember. Narahari Shah, Krishna Bhajan. He spoke how even in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were so many problems with gurus, and that is also discussed that just after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is described in Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat. There are so many bogus gurus not following properly. But they didn't think to stop the whole system of having gurus, nor in Chaitanya, nor in Gaudiya Math. The first attempt at guruship after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it resulted in turmoil. But no one thought, okay, we'll all just take initiation of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Gradually others, his disciples took up the service of Guruship, and among themselves they may have thought, he's a Guru, he's doing it. But then they came up with these things. And I meet their disciples and their disciples' disciples. And some very, very good devotees. Can't deny it. Unless you're bigoted. So that the system should go on. That is the system of Krishna. And again, I plan to speak on it more in future. If there is very highly advanced devotee, that is very good. But at the present time, actually we don't know. But we don't know what's in people's hearts. Maybe very bad things, maybe very good things. But anyway, we have to do this service, do our duty, battlefield commission, medical students in an emergency, and continue the program by repeating what we have done and the effect of it. Here's a quote from Srila Prabhupada's purport to Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 14, Text 5. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone, at least in India, to become a preacher of this mission. In other words, one should become a guru and preach the Lord's instructions all over the world for the peace and prosperity of humanity. So, preach and become a guru. Now one may say, well, become a Shikha guru and this and that. A guru is, it's a teacher, initiator also. So, that order is there. Preach, Amaragya Guru Hoya Karani. Preach and be a guru. So on that basis, it's wrong for me to accept the role of a guru, we're saying one sentence. But on the other hand, I must do. It's wrong for an inexperienced private to accept the role of a sergeant, and what to speak of a corporal, and then you go up, major, and colonel, all this kind of thing. It's wrong for him to do so. But in the absence of anyone else, the troops are scattered. The troops are scattering among one of them, or several of them, in the midst of the troop. They say, "Come men, stand, arm with you will fight." Don't just scatter here and there, fall away here and there. So someone take leadership. And then they're leading. You may say, well, they get trained, they do. All right, have to learn on the job. It may be a school of hard knocks. It has to be. And no doubt, some will appreciate. Some will not appreciate what I'm saying. There'll be so many nasty things said also. What are your qualifications? You're not a super high doctor. You're not a super high guru. I've been trained by a super high guru. Didn't so many gurus fall down? Yeah, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to fall down. It's not a rule that everyone has to fall down. Please help me. Please help me. See, I don't fall down. Point it out when if I'm being too intimate with the spirit souls in female bodies. Point it out. If I'm speaking wrong philosophy, point it out. Help me. By Srila Prabhupada's grace and the grace of his faithful followers, I'm willing to take this service. I'm willing to try to help others, and if they want, they can come. You don't have to, I'm not forcing anyone to be my disciple. I'm not canvassing. If anyone wants, they can come. And I can say, if you come, And be my disciple or disciple within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, following those who are faithfully following Srila Prabhupada of their ability. You will be benefited. You will be benefited. That is our faith and our conviction, and we can see it also. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha vipassana patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Tante nidhaya chanakam hridaya bhakti kripa aham he sadhana sakala nidhaya durat Gauranga Chandra Charane Harihadatu Jano Yathatata Hari Rasana Viram Adati Bhumi Vidukama Nakama Nirvisha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.